My girlfriend of 4 years just dumped me to find herself. But I found something that is making me question everything, so I am sitting in what used to be our living room, staring at boxes of her stuff, trying to make sense of what just happened. I am Nolan, 29M, work as a warehouse supervisor for a logistics company. Not the most exciting job, but I have worked my way up from the floor and make decent money. I am pretty much a homebody, small circle of friends, prefer quiet nights in. That whole deal. My now ex-girlfriend Bryce, 28F, and I have been together for 4 years. We moved in together about 3 years ago into this house I bought. For the past 3 years, I have been covering basically all our expenses, mortgage, utilities, groceries, everything, while she has been finding her passion, and I was fine with that. Bryce has always been the type who needs to explore, to try different things. She has done photography, tried writing a blog about wellness, started and stopped about 5 different online businesses, took some art classes. I figured everyone deserves to find what makes them happy, and I was stable enough to support both of us while she figured it out. Last week, she sat me down and hit me with this. Nolan, I need to be honest with you. I feel like I have been settling, and that is not fair to either of us. I need to find myself, figure out who I really am when I am not just comfortable. I was blindsided. Yeah, she had seemed a little distant lately, but I thought it was just stress from her latest project. She had been talking about becoming a life coach. When I asked what that meant for us, she said she needed space, that she was moving out, that we both deserved better. Better than what? I asked. We have got a good thing here. That is the problem, she said. Good isn't enough anymore. I feel like I am sleepwalking through my life. I tried to understand, asked if we could work on it. Maybe do couples counseling, take a trip together. But her mind was made up. She had already found a place to stay temporarily while she sorted things out. The whole conversation felt surreal. 4 years together, and suddenly I am not enough. After everything I have done to support her dreams. But here is the part that is really messing with my head. Yesterday, I was cleaning out the closet to make room for storing her stuff when I found something that doesn't make sense. There was a journal wedged behind some old shoeboxes, like it had been hidden there. I almost didn't look. I respect privacy and all that, but something about where it was positioned seemed deliberate, like it wasn't meant to be found easily. I opened it, and the first entry I saw was from over a year ago. The title at the top said Exit Strategy, Year 2 Plan. I am not kidding. Those were the actual words. The entry talked about building financial independence gradually, so N doesn't notice, and creating emotional distance to make the transition easier. There was a whole timeline, when to start pulling back emotionally, when to start setting up separate finances, when to start mentioning feeling unfulfilled. I sat on the closet floor reading this thing for 2 hours. Entry after entry of her planning to leave me, talking about our relationship like it was a job she was planning to quit. There were notes about maximizing support period and exit timeline. Spring of next year. Spring of next year. That is now. The most recent entry was from 3 weeks ago. N bought the ring, saw it in his sock drawer. Need to accelerate timeline before he proposes. Cannot get trapped now when freedom is so close. She knew I bought a ring, and instead of being happy or even just talking to me about not being ready, she saw it as a trap to escape from. I confronted her about it when she came by to pick up more clothes. Bryce, what the hell is this? I showed her the journal. Her face went pale, then immediately defensive. You went through my private things? It was in our shared closet, hidden like you didn't want it found. What is this exit strategy stuff? You have been planning to leave me for over a year. That is not what this is, she said, but she couldn't look at me. Sometimes I write to process my feelings. It is stream of consciousness stuff, not actual plans. There is a timeline in here. With specific dates and strategies, you are reading into it wrong. But the way she said it, the way she kept looking at the door like she wanted to run, I knew I was reading it exactly right. After she left, I went through our shared documents, bank statements, everything. Started noticing patterns I hadn't seen before, or maybe hadn't wanted to see. I have been paying for literally everything for 3 years while she found herself. But somehow, during that time, she managed to accumulate enough money to put down first and last month's rent on her new place plus security deposit. Where did that money come from? My coworker Jace has been telling me for months that something seemed off about Bryce, but I brushed him off. Thought he was just being negative. Now I am wondering what else I have been blind to. The woman I was planning to propose to has been planning her escape from me for over a year. I don't know how to process this. 4 years of my life, and I was apparently just a means to an end. Has anyone else dealt with something like this? How do you even begin to trust your judgment again when you missed something this big? Edit. A lot of people are asking about the financial situation. I am going through everything now. Will update if I find anything else weird. Update 1, the financial rabbit hole goes deeper than I thought. After reading all your comments on my last post, I decided to do a thorough audit of our finances. What I found has me questioning everything about the last 3 years. First, about that money for her new place. I went through our shared checking account statements going back 2 years. Bryce has been making small transfers to a personal savings account I didn't even know existed. We are talking $200, $300 every few weeks, sometimes more. Over the past 8 months, she has moved nearly $6,000 of what I thought was our money into her private account. When I confronted her about it via text, her response was, "I was saving up so I wouldn't be dependent on you forever. I thought you would be proud of me for being responsible." Responsible, with money I earned while she contributed nothing. But that is not even the worst part. Yesterday, my coworker Jace pulled me aside at work. We were doing inventory in the back warehouse when he said something that made my blood run cold. "Look, man, I didn't want to say anything before because you seemed happy, but I have seen Bryce at the gym with some trainer guy, multiple times over the past few months." "What do you mean?" "With him, I mean they seemed real comfortable together, sitting close, talking intensely, leaving together. My girlfriend goes to the same gym, and she mentioned seeing them there on days when you were working late shifts. I asked him which gym, and it turns out it is the one about 15 minutes from our house. The same gym Bryce said she had joined to work on self-care and personal growth. When did you first see them together? I asked. Jace thought about it, maybe 6 months ago. I didn't think much of it at first, figured he was just her trainer, but the vibe between them, it didn't look professional. 6 months. Right around the time she started talking more about finding herself and not settling for mediocre. That evening, I decided to drive by the gym. Bryce's car was in the parking lot. I waited across the street for about an hour until she came out, with a guy who definitely wasn't just her trainer. They were walking close together, talking animatedly, and when they got to her car, he put his hand on her lower back while opening her door. I followed them to a coffee shop where they sat outside on the patio. I parked where I could see them, but they couldn't see me. For 2 hours they talked like they were planning something. She was taking notes in a small notebook, nodding along to whatever he was saying. When I got home, I looked up the gym's website and found him. Reed Hawthorne, 31. Listed as a personal trainer and life transformation coach. His bio says he specializes in helping people break free from limiting patterns and create authentic life changes. The timing is too perfect to be coincidental. Bryce starts seeing this life coach, suddenly develops a need for authentic change, and begins executing a year-long plan to leave our relationship. I am starting to think this wasn't just about her finding herself. This was about her finding someone else, and planning the most convenient way to make the switch. But I needed to be sure before making any accusations. So I did something I never thought I would do. I hired a private investigator. I know that sounds extreme, but I need to know the truth. If I am wrong, I will feel terrible about it. If I am right, I need evidence before she tries to gaslight me into thinking I am paranoid. The PI starts surveillance tomorrow. Part of me hopes I am wrong about all this, but honestly, the pattern is too clear to ignore. Edit. For those asking why I am still calling her my girlfriend, technically she is until we figure out the house situation and finances. This is all happening fast, and I am trying to be smart about it. Update 2. The private investigator has been worth every penny. I hired Rebecca Ryler from a firm downtown. Professional, discreet, and expensive as hell, but she gets results. After just 3 days of surveillance, she presented me with a folder that basically destroyed any doubt I had about what has been going on. Bryce and Reed Hawthorne have been meeting regularly for 6 months. Not just at the gym, coffee shops, parks, his apartment. The PI has photos, timestamps, everything documented. But the recordings are what really got me. Rebecca managed to record a conversation between them at a Starbucks yesterday afternoon. I listened to that recording 3 times, and each time it felt like getting punched in the gut. It started with Reed asking how I had reacted to the breakup conversation. Bryce laughed. Actually laughed and said exactly what you would expect. Like you said he would. Tried to fix it, suggested counseling, the whole desperate thing. When Reed asked if I suspected anything about them, she sounded so confident. No way. He totally thinks this is about me finding myself. Which, I mean, it kind of is. Good, Reed said. And I could hear him getting into coaching mode. The transition needs to seem organic. You cannot give him any reason to think this was planned or that there is someone else involved. That is when men get vindictive. That is when my blood went cold. Reed started talking about her timeline for moving the rest of her savings out of our joint account. Not their money. Not money she had earned. Money I had been putting into that account while paying for everything else. I am thinking 2 more transfers, Bryce said, like she was discussing grocery shopping. Maybe $1,500 each time. Then I am done. Any more and he might actually notice. Reed's response is burned into my brain. Smart. You don't want to leave money on the table, but you cannot be greedy about it either. The goal here is to extract maximum value while maintaining plausible deniability. Extract maximum value, he was talking about my relationship. Like it was a business deal she was liquidating. The conversation kept going, with Reed coaching her on when to start being more honest about her feelings changing. Make him think it is a natural evolution, he said, not a planned exit. When Bryce worried about what would happen if I fought for the relationship, Reed had an answer ready. That is when you use the language we practiced. Tell him you need to grow as a person, that it is not about him but about finding your authentic self. Keep it vague and emotional. Men cannot argue with feelings. 20 minutes of them dissecting my psychology like I was some kind of lab experiment. The conversation went on like that for 20 more minutes. Reed coaching her on manipulation tactics. Bryce taking notes like she was in class, learning how to destroy someone's life. This wasn't a life coach helping someone through a difficult transition. This was someone teaching my girlfriend how to strategically dismantle our relationship while maximizing her financial benefit. Rebecca told me Reed's life coaching business isn't even legitimate. He has no certifications, no formal training, no business license. He is essentially a personal trainer who figured out he could make more money telling people what they want to hear about leaving their relationships. But here is what really sealed it for me. When I got home today, I found Bryce in our bedroom packing more boxes. We need to talk, I said. About what? About Reed Hawthorne. The color drained from her face. Who? Your life coach. The one who has been teaching you how to leave me. She tried to deny it at first, but when I told her I had recordings of their conversations, she switched tactics. Okay, yes. I have been working with Reed, but not the way you are making it sound. He is helping me figure out what I want from life. He is teaching you how to manipulate me while stealing from our joint account. I am not stealing anything. That is my money too. Money you earned. How? By contributing what to our household over the past 3 years. She couldn't answer that. Instead, she said, you are being paranoid and controlling. This is exactly why I need to leave, even caught red-handed. She was still using Reed's playbook, turning it around on me, making me the problem. How long have you been sleeping with him? I asked. I am not sleeping with him. He is my coach, Bryce. I have photos of you going into his apartment and staying for hours. Photos of you two looking very comfortable together. Just tell me the truth. That is when she finally broke. It is not what you think. Yes, we have a connection, but it is more than physical. He understands me in ways you never could. He sees my potential. So you have been cheating. It is not cheating when the relationship was already over emotionally. I have been dead inside this relationship for 2 years. Then why didn't you just leave 2 years ago? She didn't answer that either. We both knew why. Because leaving 2 years ago would have meant giving up the comfortable life I was providing while she figured out her next move. I told her she had until the end of the week to get the rest of her stuff, and that I would be consulting with a lawyer about recovering the money she had transferred out of our joint account. Her response, you cannot take that money back. I need it to start my new life. The audacity is unbelievable. She is acting like she is the victim here. Final update: this story has an ending now, And honestly, it is better than I could have hoped for. After my last update, several people suggested I check with my neighbor Tessa about whether she had seen anything unusual. Tessa has one of those doorbell cameras that faces the street, and we have been friendly neighbors for the past 2 years. When I explained the situation to her, she looked uncomfortable. Nolan. I didn't want to say anything because it wasn't my business. But yeah, I have seen some things. She invited me over and showed me footage from her doorbell camera. What I saw made everything crystal clear. The footage showed Reed coming to our house multiple times over the past 4 months, always during my work shifts. He wasn't just visiting, he was staying overnight. The timestamps showed him arriving around 2 p.m. and leaving the next morning after 8 a.m. On days when I was working double shifts, he would be there for 2 days straight. But the most damning footage was from 3 weeks ago. It showed Bryce and Reed loading boxes into his truck, the same day she told me she was going through old clothes to donate. They weren't donating anything. They were moving her stuff out gradually, 3 weeks before she officially decided to leave me. I also found out from Tessa that Reed had been introduced to neighbors as Bryce's business partner for some wellness venture they were supposedly starting together. I thought it was weird that your business partner would need to stay over so much, Tessa said. But I figured you knew. Armed with all this evidence, I confronted Bryce, one final time when she came to get the last of her things. I know about Reed staying here while I was at work. I have footage. She tried to deny it, but when I showed her the timestamps, she finally admitted everything. Fine. Yes, Reed and I have been together for months. Yes, we planned this whole thing. But you have to understand, I was dying in this relationship. I felt trapped. So instead of just talking to me about it, you decided to cheat on me while planning your exit and stealing my money. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. But Reed showed me that I deserved more than just settling for comfortable. And this was the only way to get it. You would never have let me go willingly. That might have been the most honest thing she said during our entire relationship. She was right. If she had come to me and said she was unhappy, I would have done everything I could to fix it, because I loved her and thought she loved me back. But instead of having that conversation, she chose to build an elaborate deception with another man's help. Here is where the story gets satisfying, though. I consulted with a lawyer, and it turns out that since Bryce contributed nothing financially to our household, while systematically transferring money out of our joint account, I have a strong case for recovering those funds. My lawyer sent her a formal demand letter for $6,000 plus interest. But the real karma came naturally. Reed's coaching business caught the attention of the state regulatory board after I filed a complaint with documentation of his unlicensed practice. Turns out you cannot call yourself a life coach and charge for therapeutic services without proper credentials. His business got shut down, and the gym fired him after learning about his inappropriate relationship with a client. Meanwhile, Bryce moved in with Reed expecting the comfortable life he had promised her. But without his coaching income and her stolen nest egg dwindling, their financial reality set in quickly. Reed dumped her after 2 months. Apparently, he had expected her to contribute financially to their new life together, but since she had no job skills or recent work experience, she couldn't even find basic employment. Last I heard from mutual friends, she had to move back in with her parents at 28 years old. Her grand plan for independence and authentic living ended with her sleeping in her childhood bedroom again. As for the money, my lawyer got all of it back plus interest and attorney fees. Turns out that when someone systematically transfers money from a joint account without the other party's knowledge, while contributing nothing to the relationship, it is considered theft, not marital asset division. 6 months later, I am in the best shape of my life. The house feels like mine now instead of like a place I was just paying for someone else to live comfortably. I have reconnected with friends I had lost touch with while supporting Bryce's endless quest for fulfillment. More importantly, I have learned to trust my instincts. All those times Jace or other friends seemed concerned about Bryce, all those moments when something felt off, I should have listened instead of making excuses. The experience taught me that real love doesn't require elaborate planning and manipulation to escape from. If someone wants to leave, they should just leave. If someone wants to stay, they will stay without needing to be convinced. I am dating again now, and the difference is night and day. When someone actually wants to be with you, it is obvious. There is no second guessing, no feeling like you are auditioning for the role of boyfriend. As for Bryce and Reed, I have no idea where they are now, and I don't care. They deserved each other, but apparently even they couldn't stand each other once the thrill of the deception wore off. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well and letting natural consequences play out. In this case, the consequences worked out perfectly. Edit. Thanks for all the support, everyone. For those asking about the ring, I returned it and got most of my money back. Used it for a down payment on a new truck. Much better investment.